It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent His messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose, but by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness, by giving, will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 93rd One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. It's Tuesday, October 29th, 2019. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department, part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be one of the hosts today, along with a couple of other knowledge seekers, Mark and Peggy. And of course, with our main knowledge seeker from the Keshe Foundation, Ms. Carolina Keshe will be directing today's workshop, as she has for the previous 92 One Nation, One Planet, One Race workshops here. Carolina, are you ready to go for today's meeting?
Rick, before Caroline come, are we live on Facebook?
I don't know if Facebook's working. I can't get Facebook to broadcast, so it may have to not work today.
Rick, Jalal, this is Peggy. I have posted as many as I could to the groups using YouTube. YouTube is running live, so I went ahead and shared that into Facebook with as many groups as I could get to.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Carolina, are you ready to go? I think you'll have
Yes,
to.
Rick.
There
Hi,
we
good
go.
morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you have your cup of tea or coffee ready for the session today. We are 93 into our path of knowledge and sharing and exploring what we can achieve to change the position of so many. Because that's what we actually are doing, changing position, and then see how it unfolds in time, sometimes very fast, sometimes with a little bit, as we think, delay, but it's not. It's just that the field strength is not at that strength for that to balance itself out, as Mr. Keshe is always talking about. It's all about fields. It's all about field strength. It's all about balancing, and that's how the universe is working. So the good news is that Mr. Keshe will stop or end the normal teaching at 300. That didn't mean it was ending. It was just changing course to prepare humanity to go for the journey of learning right across the universes. And that is a huge, as we say, boterham, which is like for most of you, a sandwich to chew, because it's all new, it's unknown to man. How to behave, how to conduct, what to take in account. There is a whole new world out there to be explored with knowledge, in knowledge. As we all know, Mr. Keshe is preparing humanity, and the world itself is cooperating. We see the change of the requests for the systems, for the body enhancement systems, going for the knowledge. People are asking more about how and what and where and how can we and who can we help. And there is a huge support among one another to see where to establish the systems. It will bring a big change, especially for the people which those systems will start revealing their beauty. It will be an amazing journey. And then we have our next journey coming up, which is in Brazil. And we will go from one point of knowledge to another, to then finally, as Mr. Keshe has announced, in Iran, to do the completion of the spaceship. I think we are on an amazing journey, all of us. The ones which are on board as knowledge seekers and which are actually spreading the knowledge among others, so they in turn become knowledge seekers. You can see their eagerness to learn and their eagerness to get on board and see where they can gobble up as much and as fast the knowledge as they can. And it's a pleasure to see this journey, because as Mr. Keshe said, we cannot do it on our own. We have to work together. And this is the change among knowledge seekers that is showing everywhere. The tendency of, okay, we do what we can, but we are there. We do it. No hesitation in giving a hand there and a bit of knowledge there, as we all noticed last week on Thursday with the passing of Sander. it's all about knowledge. It's all about who the person is behind the knowledge, how they are sharing it, and how well they get to know the teachers from each point of view. And it was a beautiful sharing. It has touched a lot of souls. It has touched a lot of people. And this does not happen so easy, so freely sharing among all in the public domain, how well and how nice and how cheeky and how capable and how knowledgeable someone actually becomes and is there around the clock, like so many. Sandra is not the only one. There are so many working in a hidden way. And the funny thing is that we are discovering more and more patches of knowledge seekers which we don't get in touch with, or they are not on our side because they're in a different time zone. And the knowledge seekers which are present on this side, they come and they share it with us, like Mark did recently, and then Rick did recently. There are a lot of pockets of knowledge seekers which are popping up, which we don't even know their existence. France is reporting, Portuguese are reporting, Spanish are reporting. So it's like it's dormant, but it's not dormant at all. And there are big groups. These are not 5 or 10 people. These are within hundreds. And it's beautiful to see and please do get in touch with all of us or you need support. We work as teams and we new groups to come in. Don't be shy, don't hold back. You will be more than welcome to this big family. So don't hesitate if you bump in those teams
Are you
of
still
knowledge.
there, Caroline? I think you might have cut off. Don't hear your microphone.
We can hear her. We can hear you. Hi.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's at my end. Something went astray here.
Okay.
Just a minute.
So you didn't lose me.
I'm okay. It's back again. My mixer got mixed up.
Yeah, it's okay because I might run into some ups and downs with the network. Just let me know, Rick, because it's very tricky to get a stable network today.
Yeah, I thought something happened, but it didn't. It was at my end, so you're good.
No, that's fine, Rick. I'm better be alert and prepared before than when I'm talking to myself and then we have to repeat everything. So don't hesitate when you have, and I thought I just heard a very familiar voice. Isn't that Libby?
Well, Libby appears to be here. I'm not sure if she's opening her voice today, but go ahead and speak if you can, Libby.
No, I thought it was Libby's voice I heard.
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't hear that, so.
She was.
Ah, Jalal, present today.
It was Libby, but she dropped out.
Okay, they will come back. Has anybody any questions on this great journey of all of us? It's not one, it's a lot of us. Anybody any questions or sharing for today?
We've got Ekmar with his hand up here. Want to go ahead, Ekmar?
Yeah, hello, this is Ekmar from Thailand. I have a question because right now in Germany, there is a debate in the government to make vaccination for Masern. What is that in English? Masern. Mandatory. So the mumps. Nee, mumps. Yeah. Masern. Wait, I have to use Google Translate. Google Translate.
It's probably the measles and mumps vaccine, MMR.
Measles, yeah. Masern. It says measles. Do you understand measles?
Yeah, measles it's called. Yeah, measles.
Measles. Okay, so that's with the red spots. Yeah. So they try to make it mandatory. Right now it's already the case that you cannot get a kindergarten place when you did not vaccinate your kids against this one. But now they would like to force a law that you have to pay a fine of 2,500 euro when you don't do it, and even they will be able to do it against the wills of the parents. So this is something which makes me very nervous, and I would like to know, is there any vaccination which works or which is useful? Or I know that there are a lot of vaccinations which are still recommended from the WTO, but it's already proven that they will not work. But somebody told me that there are a few which are still working and recommended. So what is the official status from the Keshe Foundation about vaccinations? Is there a need of any, or is everything obsolete with the new technology?
That answer we will leave in the hands of Mr. Keshe. We are not doctors, we are knowledge seekers. None of us is a doctor here on this platform to justify the explanation. There are a lot of teachings and explanations about vaccination in Mr. Keshe's teachings. You can find them. If you want to have more information about this, to guide you where you can obtain this information, just request, if I may advise, to talk to Jalal. He might provide you with the links of the teachings, and if you're in the private teaching, if them are in the private teaching, a lot of information is in the public teachings. The how and what is all in there already embedded. So if you have more pushing questions about this, please put it on Thursday morning platform. If Mr. Keshe is willing to answer that on that platform, he will do so. I'm sorry, but we cannot give you any expertise on that.
Okay, nevertheless, thank you. I will try to, because I have found a doctor in Helmbrechts, where we will live in Germany next year when the first unit is delivered. So I hope that we can do also some research about that with this new unit. Because I think if my son will get measles,
Keshe already given some.
You break
Mr.
up a
Keshe
little
has
bit.
already answered in regard of that. I think it was on last Thursday already.
Okay, I will review. Thank you.
Yes, please do so. Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody? Remember, the period, the time frame has shortened, so don't go too long silent, because that's all the time we're going to lose to do some work on this platform. Has anybody had the desire to bring their country on the table to see what their beauty is in sharing? Or has anyone else any information in the progress of contacting their governments and on what level they have achieved to establish a communication?
I'm still working on soul level, Carolina. It's Peggy. As always, with our leaders, their families, their associates. Generally, and then most recently, since we did the wish for the refugees, of course, elevating that situation. And we have had some situations globally with refugees and others. And I believe we were working with that wish just even last week. And I believe it was in the UK where they found the people, 39 people had perished, being trafficked. Now, that is actually an elevation of the situation because so many lights are on that now. However, it was in my area, having situations like that are a regular occurrence. The blessings and the elevations that are coming is, I believe it was just yesterday, there was a truck, another one of those semi-type trucks pulled over, and there were 30 refugees, South American, be it Hispanic of one nation or another, that are in the South Americas. And they were alive. So it's an elevation to the leaders and to the rest of the world. And if you would like to speak on that, because it ties in with our wishes and the leaders and the soul level. Thank you.
You mean the way I explained yesterday?
Yes, I think that would be very nice for the others to understand.
Okay. Do I come over clear or am I breaking up?
It's quite clear right now.
Oh, just please let me know if it gets shaky, because Peggy just sound very shaky and I thought maybe it's on my end, but I want to double check it.
No, it's me. I'm sorry. It's my strength of voice. It's me personally today. Sorry.
No problem, Peggy, no problem. Yes, if you all remember the plane that I don't remember exactly, but the window smashed and one lady got sucked into the window, and the plane managed to land safe because the body of the lady was blocking for any more damage to come to the plane and the passengers. And nobody realized or is realizing that this is a soul that is sacrificing itself for the benefit of so many on board of that plane. It was thanks to this lady that no one else, except for a few, but no more perishing happened on that plane. It landed safe. This container, which was found in England with 39 people, Chinese and Vietnamese people who were on board of that container, fridge container. Nobody will ever take the point of view, as Mr. Keshe usually does, that this is a sacrifice of so many souls. Because of the amount of people, nobody can put it under the carpet, as we say, or locked behind doors, that it never happened or it didn't exist. This has alerted, by going so public internationally, the Interpol and all the organizations which are working to stop this kind of atrocities. These souls have sacrificed themselves, and now you will start seeing the beauty from what happened with all of them. You also have to bear in mind that the week before, we created the wish for the displaced and the refugees in a wish. And then the week after this happens, these people are displaced. They are Chinese, they are Vietnamese, they are not in their country, they were on the road to find a new life or a better life or a change of life or a better economically status. Who knows their reason for why they were on that journey. But they definitely were not home. That sheds a light on how we are working with our wishes. And maybe a lot of knowledge seekers have never even related it back to this wish. But it comes in all different shapes and forms, and it's not because it is horrible to see 39 people losing their life, but it has such a more greater, beautiful meaning that nobody can stop talking about it. It cannot be put away. These investigations that have started on top of this has opened a full network, and it will go further and further. It's like the same situation as we had with Alan Sterling. And I hope you bless their souls in gratitude for what wisdom they have brought to all the teams, because this is not going to go dormant anymore. But that sheds also a beautiful view on our wishes, the way we work with our wishes. It is amazing how you can link and relate the information to what is and is supposed to, if you look at it from the point of view of positive. We do bear in mind to think about the families, and them will request for information, and everywhere else, and the governments. How could this happen? And this should not happen. And as Peggy said, they found another one, but this time they're alive. So it opens a book from where to where and the points of connection. And in the near future, we will find out more. We will see more and more this kind of information revealing itself. Then please bear in mind, we were part of that wish for that to stop. Anybody, any questions, please? We're going to have a very quiet class today. Rick.
Pretty quiet. I guess everybody's already satisfied. The only question I have in the streaming is from UTrips in YouTube. Why has this technology been taking so long for the general public to know about? And
taken so long. It's, you know, it depends if you're a knowledge seeker. And you got to understand that nobody at this given moment, but I'm talking about 10 years ago, was worse than now. Nobody was allowed to publish a word about the Keshe Foundation. We only have had 2 magazines which were able to publish a full, huge, beautiful article. And I'm treasuring those magazines because they are the only 2 from that period of time in existence about this knowledge. And you have to understand that is 10 years ago. We were not so much progressed as today. That's the reason why Mr. Keshe went into the stock market. Not for the stock market, but because we can inform globally about our work. They are receiving the information, what Global is doing, where it has these presentations, what systems are getting developed, the knowledge, the introduction. It had to have that time because in those 10 years, if we're only covering 10 years, which is a lot more, but known to public, 10 years has taken us to build up so many knowledge seekers. They are all carrying the base and beyond of those 10 years of information and knowledge that Mr. Keshe has put into the public domain. And it's growing. Nobody can stop it anymore. The reason is that equality stands for everyone globally, not for one nation or another nation because they are more better off financially, but that is only an utopia if you go deeper into the understanding who is more happy with more or less happy, or that's not the point. The point is it has taken its time because the maturity needed to be there for whatever is now on the table with the Keshe Foundation. It's working. It has this time track of the proof, how it works, how to apply it, and enough people know how to do it. It's not depending anymore on the Keshe Foundation to be able to show results. Every single knowledge seeker can do this all independently at home and can share and teach freely everybody else. If you're a knowledge seeker and you remember the time that we were creating the wishes for Syria, Mr. Keshe explained the time was not right. There was a lot more that needed to be balanced. And if you go to the soul teachings, he explains the souls are balancing among themselves what needs to be done. Because if it has created so much pain and suffering, somewhere, somehow, it has to balance itself out. And if you understand about the field strength, it's all about that. You can't speed nothing up. It all takes its time till the field strength is there, sufficient enough for it to be delivered. That's the explanation also in the wishes. We have done so many wishes. And some of them, you see them coming up like this one within a week, because it goes out of nowhere so fast, 2 weeks. And some take a few months because the energy there is not sufficient enough for it to tip it over to show its progress. Now it will go faster and faster and faster, because if you realize that from the first presentation in Vienna, and already in April we will show the spaceship in Iran, that's only in a few months the whole totality of what we've all been working for over all these years. As we also needed time to mature, to get all the information among all these knowledge seekers, and there's still new knowledge seekers walking in. It needed time for that to be able to be concrete, that to whoever you speak in the Keshe Foundation as a knowledge seeker, they know what they're talking about. Slowly, now with these units going in January, it will speed up again. And then the next one will speed it up more. But we can't go any faster until everyone is ready to receive this kind of change. Nobody has even realized the implication of the change. What this will bring, it will happen in stages. And maybe in 2 or 3 years or 4 years' time, you will realize why it had to go so slow. I cannot ask a baby to start running a marathon. He needs to grow into it. He needs to go through those phases. Humanity has to go through the same phases of maturity to be able to embrace the right way this kind of amount of new knowledge, which at the same time will bring so much change and balance humanity. I hope I have answered your question.
Definitely takes time for new ideas to be accepted by people. And 10 years is a very short time, actually, in terms of promotion of a new concept. The plasma technology is not something that even showed up on the screen before around 10 years ago. So I was just recently reminded of some videos I put out 10 years ago, and when I was working with the name Nikola Tesla and promoting the Tesla technology and so on, before I got introduced to the Keshe technology. And then I dropped most of the things I was doing with the promoting the Tesla technology, because I realized the potential of the plasma technology from as introduced by Mr. Keshe is so much superior and so much more inclusive to the old school technology, in spite of all the advances and things that Nikola Tesla and others have done. It just pales in comparison. And my goal back in 10 or 12 years ago was to try to promote the Tesla name in order for it to become a common household name. I thought that everybody should know about Nikola Tesla and all his wonderful inventions, and try to get some of these things going again and so on. I thought that would be a good goal to do. And I sat there and thought, if not me, then who? And if not now, when? And so I went for it, and I ended up promoting the name Tesla more on the internet than anyone else at that time, through little science experiments and different YouTube videos that went viral and this kind of thing. And it actually, I became one of the greatest hits on the name Tesla on the internet at that time. And that's all fine and dandy. And then the whole thing comes up of Keshe, and that like I say, it made all of that work sort of unnecessary. But what also happened at that time was this guy, Elon Musk, came along and started the Tesla car company and produced these amazing electric vehicles that could beat all the sports cars in the world, and still do. And now we have the name Tesla is a common household name. Almost everybody knows about the new Tesla cars. They still don't know maybe that much about Nikola Tesla, but even that's been promoted in the internet quite a bit as well. So now the name Tesla, after 100 or 150 years, is actually more popular than it ever has been. So I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. So I see the same thing with the Keshe technology. Initially rejected by the people in general, and other, especially other industries and other industrialists, like Nikola Tesla was. Tesla didn't want to become part of the industrialists, the boys club, as they call it. And he kept independent, and he wanted to actually do things that were for the benefit of the population, which is not what the industrialists wanted. They wanted to make profits and control the market. So I see a correlation there. And then we see with the Keshe technology, Mr. Keshe has introduced it. It's been kind of rejected by the governments and so on initially, and he's tried again and he's gone in the grassroots and introduced it to all the people. And now we have knowledge seekers, young and old, and from every part of the entire world, doing their experiments or making things, creating, and basically understanding this new form of technology on a very basic grassroots way. And this is what's making the difference, because that is like, it's being spread by word of mouth. It's being spread in a natural progression, so that there's groups forming because people want to get together with each other and learn from each other and share the knowledge. And that's what Mr. Keshe has always been pushing right from day one. So now we have, with this introduction of the stock market company and the Keshe Foundation Global, and the plans and ideas that are coming out of all that, it's making for a much more international exposure, and exposure on the higher levels of both government and industry. So we are already seeing results from that, and I think we're going to see the same thing as what's happened with the name Tesla, where with the Keshe concepts, for example, the enhancement unit, body enhancement unit, it seems to be really taking off. A lot of people are considering orders or putting in orders and are very interested in this. It's got the potential to be a viral winner kind of entity. So if that really takes off, then that could easily make the name Keshe an actual household name. It's very, very feasible that can happen. And in many households, it is a household name. And there's so many knowledge seekers around the world now that have taken this technology on as their own and are loving it, that it's just a matter of time, and we have to be patient, because it does take time to change people's minds. need to hear the ideas multiple times in order for it to start to get a grip, or they have to have the necessity for it. And we see the necessity happening all over the world. There's people that need their energy, they need certain kinds of health conditions, they need new materials, they need transportation, because there's many situations that are requiring that now. And of course, all of it requires global peace. And this has been the big puzzle part that has to be put into place in order for all the other puzzle parts to fall into place. That peace has to be there in order for this technology to be accepted. Because if the technology comes in first and we don't have peace, then that will be chaos, as Mr. Keshe has mentioned many times. So yes, it's slow coming, but I think that we all want it that way. And once we look into the past, when we're in the future looking into the past, as Carolina has mentioned, we'll see the reasoning behind the way everything is unfolded will make more sense. It'll be, we'll see why things didn't go according to what people thought they should and so on. So it's taken me a long time to accept that things have to go at a certain speed and not to push too hard in certain areas, because it does have to unfold the way it unfolds. On the other hand, we can all push a little bit in our own ways to make things happen faster, more efficiently, let's say. And just by talking with your friends and family and others, even though they may reject you sometimes for your what sounds like a crazy idea to someone that's never heard of plasma technology, once they hear it and actually feel it and work with it, most people come to accept it and really do love it. So that's my bit on that. Anybody else have something they'd like to say about that idea?
It's Doug here, Rick and Carolina and everyone. I was almost thinking I was alone in my area here, and just plugging away in the background. And suddenly I found that there were actually hundreds of people engaged in experimenting with Keshe technology around my local area, my region. And we had, it was a very strange set of circumstances, but I found them and they found me. And we had a meeting, and Mr. Keshe came along through Zoom. And it was a most amazing afternoon. He spoke for probably 2 hours, and people asked questions. And Jim and Lisa MacDonald, Lisa is Earth Council member for Australia, and they were present. And there was a whole team of people that brought their magraphs, their ointments, their creams, their potions that they had developed themselves in their house, in their kitchen, in the spare room. And I was absolutely amazed I left the meeting a bit poorer, actually, because I'm not a hands-on experimenter as such. And if I have wished to have some plasma products, I've had to place orders overseas, and it tends to be very expensive. And all of a sudden I had all this local, it was like a market almost, where I just went from table to table and listened, and I'll have one of those, and I'll have that, and that looks good. So I walked away with a little shopping bag of product, and these people we meet now. I know now that there's a meeting regularly, and through that getting together, it's face to face. You're no longer a sort of a voice on the end of the line. It's actual people, and where that will go, is anybody's guess. But I have this deep feeling, knowing that, it's going to go places, because there's this invigorated spirit now. I think that the people there were very encouraged by the fact that Mr. Keshe came along, and that is impetus to do more. I have a number of ideas, because in our country there are many underprivileged people, particularly in the indigenous populations, that suffer health problems with no solution, and really just a token effort even. And the fact that they live in very remote areas also is one of the considerations. But there can be, and I'm going to make sure there will be some contact made to the councils of these indigenous populations, because they all have a representative council, and they all know that their health problems are very serious, and their life expectancy compared to the privileged people is far less. And there will be doors opening up that probably wouldn't have opened. And that I think in this part of the world is a good news story. I'm now in regular contact with the group of people, and it's going to move forward. It will move into the areas of government, local, state and federal. I didn't realise that Jim and Lisa had done so much, in the way of putting on the internet beautiful presentations. Although we have all seen some of the work they have done with their video presentations. They are very adept at presenting, and I placed in the chat. Rick's onto it. There's a website, and it is relating to Australia and this area of the world. But there's so much information, because if you remember, Jim and Lisa did some very, very, very good experiments with their plants. They have what do they call it? A sprouts business, or a plant business that sell herbs and so on. And they were the first that I know of, the Chinese also, but I recall Jim presented very, very scientific, very, very well presented data on the effect of ganses on his plants, the extended life of them. And these are the steps that will be taken, as we've been saying. It's not suddenly the world will change, but step by step. I think a beautiful analogy Carolina gave earlier of a child. I have a grandson and I'm watching his growth with great interest because, you know, he's moving into different phases all the time, getting more adept at living in the world and communicating and speaking. And so we must allow the human population that time to take those baby steps. But once the ball starts rolling, very quickly, that advancement comes along. It was seems like a few months ago, my grandson was born, but now he's an active, living human being, able to talk, able to interact, and in such a short time. But again, it's stages. I can't expect him, as Carolina said, to run a marathon tomorrow, but shortly he will be able to do more and more and more. And so it is with him, and so it is with the human race. And a little bit of patience, because Rick was saying it may seem like an inordinate amount of time, but when you think about it in the history of things, it's such a short time that this huge change. Thank you, Rick. That's terrific. Yep, that is the website. And it's beautiful. And it's these baby steps which we have, which we are taking now, which will quickly expand. And no one can stop it. And it's now no longer the governments that are going to lead the way in. It's the people, and the governments will just have to follow, because the light is being shone on this new technology on that grassroots level. And just as with refugees, when certain souls sacrifice themselves for the greater good, the light shines, and attention is given to that. And the governments, however reluctant they may have been to face the truths, must face the truths. They must face the truths of the problems, and they also must face the truths of the solutions. They have no choice. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And as we are seeing, if you look at the positive side of things, you can see many, many positive things changing. Some of them are not so pleasant to see or to accept responsibility for, but they have to be shown, so that it's very clear that the change is necessary. And it all starts from very small little pockets of light and spreads. I won't linger longer, but that's my good news story, and I'm looking forward now. I thought I was retiring and I would just be tapping away on the computer all by myself in the back room, the scum under the sewer, at the bottom of the sewer pipe, down there. But no, it's all changed. It's opened up hugely. So everybody should, think positively, work within their own capabilities, not try and take on the whole show to be a one-man show or whatever, but to work with others, find other people that are slightly or or very interested, and then talk to each other, work together, and take these necessary steps, these baby steps, and pretty soon we'll be masters of the plasma and be able to accept our position in the universal community, rightfully so. Anyway, I won't linger longer. Thank you, everyone, and I'll fall silent.
Thank you, Doug. I like the Masters of the Plasma. You could see that as a new Disney show or something, or one of these, kinds of Hollywood movies that come out. Masters of the Plasma. And it could all be about those that work with the plasma. And it would be a very interesting movie, I do think. It certainly opens some eyes. So those are movie makers. There's a calling for you. And truly, there is a calling for movie makers out there. Those are the ones that can influence many people at a time through all kinds of different angles on this plasma technology. It affects so many areas of mankind, humankind, in terms of the culture, in terms of the technologies, and in all aspects of technology is affected by the ultimate realization of and the ultimate manifestation of this technology. It's the never-ending story in a way. It's as Mr. Keshe said some time ago, and I've always remembered these words more than anything else, I suppose, as I was working with the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group at the time, and that was 5 or 6 years ago, or something like that. When he said, and we were working with reactors, and people are wondering, well, what if I do this and change that and do this to the reactor, and what'll happen then? And everybody wants to have Mr. Keshe tell them what will happen, and so on, which he does. But at one point he just goes, there's as many types of reactors as there are stars in the universe. And I just went, whoa, what a concept. I mean, it's just like, there's an endless variations. There's endless variations, because if you can conceive of something, it can be built and tested and so on, but what you conceive of will be different than what your neighbor or somebody else that conceives of. And when people get together, then the end result of their collaboration is going to be different than any one individual's concepts going into that project. It's a dynamic situation. It's not just one invention and that's it. You can't do anything with it after that. It's all the variations of transformations that could occur with the interactions of all these different types of materials, yet it's all very simple at the same time. So it's simple concepts, simple operations with a complexity of as many stars of the universe in terms of its implementation and manifestation. It's kind of like the way humans are. We're all basically the same, but I defy you to find two that are exactly identical. Even identical twins aren't exactly identical. So it's a wonderful world that way, and it's overwhelming in one sense. Like, well, where do I start? Well, take your pick out of 300 billion, trillion, trillion, billion, 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 trillion designs. But you have to select one, not all of them all at once. So that's, to me, it's daunting in a way, and it puts the responsibility right back on you as the creator to create your reactor. What do you see as your ultimate understanding and knowledge all put into one device? Or maybe it's not a device, maybe it's a concept, maybe it's a emotion, maybe it's a feeling. All people have different ways of approaching this knowledge. It's not just about the devices or the technology. So
Rick?
Yeah, hi Joel, jump right in.
Hi, hello everyone. Rick, can you bring up the picture of the spiral of the plasma? You know this with the colors in it?
With the what in it?
Spiral with the colors. It is
colors.
Yeah.
The plasma animation, you mean?
No. It is the picture in the book of Mr. Keshe.
Oh, right.
With the little bit what do you call it? Small lines coming out from it. You remember it?
Yeah, I don't know if I can put my finger on it. Maybe if somebody else can find that, that would be nice. Let me have a look here. That was the one that was in the book, right? In one of the books.
With what you said just now, it triggered something in my head.
Yeah, I would have to look for that, Jalal.
Yes, thank you.
And if anybody can help me with pointing to that, that would be good. We've got Ike here with, he's had his hand up for a while and he has a question, so maybe we can go with that to progress here. Ike, let me allow you to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Rick, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. Hey, I have a question. I have an opportunity to present a concept for a toy maker here in California. Now, with this technology for children's toy, what aspect can we use to affect change using this technology? What can you advise?
What I would advise, I've been playing with various toys in the Keshe Plasma Reactor group from day one, basically, to try to sort of illustrate concepts and so on. And I was going to get together a list, actually, of maybe a dozen such toys that would be useful in a kid's education environment or an adult education environment, as far as that goes. And one of the toys that I've been playing with recently in the Keshe Plasma Reactor group is the torus toy. It's a metal wire kind of structure that is a torus, and you can manipulate it.
I've seen that with you.
Right. Okay. Well, that's, you can buy them for $2 or $3 at a dollar store, and you could buy a bunch of them and give them out to the kids so they can actually experience what this toroid is like. This structure, which has a in and an out, or plus and minus, or magnetic and gravitational, however the way you'd like to describe it, in a kid's way or adult way or whatever, it can be described in the highest physics formulas that you want to dive into. On the other hand, it can, when a kid puts it on their arm and it runs and crawls up and down your arm, as it just feels like a living entity, you start to get an actual feeling of this thing that it basically represents the plasma represents the fields and the way they operate, and the way the galaxy operates, and the way atoms operate, and the way the whole universe operates. So that's one tool that can be useful. There's others. There's what was this? One of the other ones I was thinking of. Let me think here. There's
if we infuse the GANs,
or what come to mind. If you look at the first Kids Knowledge Seekers workshop, Mr. Keshe works with ring magnets, and he indicates that, you know, you can make them repel on a flat table, but if you turn one sideways and put it on the table and raise the other one above it, and then you can twist them and see them interact, and that's the way you're supposed to show how magnets interact and so on. And he has a way of presenting that kids can understand, and adults as well. So there are different things like that can be introduced. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's considered actually, but also, what about the GANs? Using the GANs as the toy maker, of course, is this something? I'm more of like a smart toy, whereby these things can interact, because that's where the technology is going, where these things can interact with the kids, and then we are working with the soul and the emotion dimension. Can these things be infused in the toy at the stage of where they are making these toys? So these things can actually be more in a friendly way with the kids. So that's where I'm actually thinking. I don't know if somebody can expand on that.
Well, that becomes part of the process of getting products certified, first of all, so that you can infuse them with GANs or have other aspects of the GANs technology put into an actual device of some sort. So the materials have to be certified and have to be non-toxic certified, and make sure they're okay for kids if they bite into it or whatever thing they're going to be doing with the toys. And so all of that would take a lot of money in order to pass testing and all of that. Some of that work's already been done, but that would be part of the process of developing special toys if you plan on actually incorporating GANs into the toys themselves. There might be other ways of doing it. What you sparked me, maybe you could have a toy, for example, that is a talking toy, and everything it says reminds people of some aspect of the plasma technology, whether it's something about global peace, and maybe you have 1,000 different phrases that this talking toy can say as reminders to people that
some kind of curated content. It could work that way, and also I think I know where you're heading, and I've thought about that too. That would be helpful with this, yeah.
Yeah, and that way you don't have to go through a bunch of hoops for any health considerations or any other manufacturing considerations that way. It's just a talking toy, and you could probably have any number of countries manufacture it quite easily and just put in your talking tape into the toy basically, and have some friendly voice with friendly tips on plasma technology, maybe just sort of mentioning some keywords or mentioning some names or places they can go to get more information, or you know, things about nanotechnology or the GANSs or other aspects that could come right out of the KF Wikipedia or other places that are public knowledge. So that could be a great way to introduce people to the plasma technology. I would have loved to have such a toy when I was a kid that kept me guided in the latest technologies, the latest, you know, the way the future's going instead of the way it is now.
Exactly.
Things would have made a lot more sense to me then.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's a more expansion. Thanks.
Another thing that people can, another thing that comes to mind actually, and something that I'm going to be pursuing in the right away, probably later today and through the next few days, is the idea of sensing fields. So we know that there's fields all around us of different kinds, everything from radio waves. There's literally hundreds of radio stations right beside you right now that you could tune into with a radio tuner or receiver. There's you know, everything from infrared to X-ray to cosmic rays and microwaves and everything else is happening all around us at the same time. And then we have the fields generated by our human physicalities as well. And so we can tune in to all these different types of fields depending on our own capabilities and what we wish to tune into is essentially it. And I enjoy at times in the past and would still enjoy just tuning into the fields that are around me in my local environment. So I've made a tuner based on a crystal radio circuit that is able to tune in to a very wide range of fields, everything from audio signals right through to light rays and different kinds of magnetic vibrations and so on and so forth. So a simple circuit like that, when it's tuned in a certain way and run through a computer with software and so on, you can get an instant response from it. So it's actually a lot of fun for kids and for adults to play with, because you can move it around the room and the tuner will pick up on the fields and give you an audio response, and you'll hear different things depending on how well you've tuned it and how you've set it up, and it's all completely different every time and depends on the operator how it works. But it's a fun way to investigate the fields that are already around us. And all we have to do is transform their energies into something we can see or hear. And all of a sudden it opens up that whole world that was completely invisible to us before, which is what we do when we turn on the radio. We tune into a station, and all of a sudden our whole environment is changed by this sound that comes through. And it's, you know, super important that the right sound comes through for your party or for your relaxation at night or whatever it happens to be. And of all of the millions of stations and tunes that are available out there, we select at least the station and get a random song come through. But we select it. We actually are part of that process of creating that sound in our room through selecting a very specific one of all the millions of channels that we could have selected. So I'm just suggesting that there's millions of channels available, and most of them are not in the audio range. They have to be transformed from some other higher frequency into something that we can hear. But if it's all done in real time, it's actually the same sound, just transduced down octaves so that we can hear it, which is what we do anyway for radio waves and just about every other kind of thing. Even the sun's rays are transformed and transmuted as they come through the atmosphere so that we can make use of them at the lower parts of the atmosphere and not get fried by them. So that's another way, another toy in a way, but you call it a tool, a learning tool that could be useful in that toolkit of toys, plasma toys, stuff that can open you up to the idea that there's more to what's going on than what meets the eye, let's say. And that can lead to being more sensitive inside ourselves to the fields of others. And you might, realize, whoa, we all have these fields that come off of us. Another toy that can be played with very easily is electrostatic fields with done with a clear plastic tray inverted, and you rub it with some wool or cloth, and you can build up a static charge. And if you make some little styrofoam balls with aluminum foil covered in them and put them inside this device, they'll jump around, hop around, and it is incredibly amazing demonstration, which I've shown again in the plasma group. And it shows another interaction of fields that we don't normally see the way that these interact, and it makes you understand that elevating or levitating something is actually quite a simple operation, and it's a great demonstration for kids or adults, again, that levitation is not so hard, beating gravity is not so hard, it just requires the right conditions. And it can inspire someone to take it all the way and start experimenting with the plasma technology in a big way, and leading to being able to alter the gravity of any situation they wish, perhaps. Anyway, anybody else?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a few ideas. If you're, serious about wanting to continue with that, maybe we could perhaps even have a group, special group or something, but definitely in the plasma reactor group is a good place to throw around ideas like that. And that's happening, well, tonight in my time, but I think it's tomorrow morning. That's Wednesday. It starts at 7 a.m. Central European time. And
yeah, it's tonight in my time too, so I'll be on.
Yeah, it's normally 10 p.m. Pacific, but it's 11 p.m. Pacific tonight,
yeah,
because of the weird time change with the Central European time as opposed to Central European summer time, which has occurred a few days ago. So 11 p.m. Pacific time, 7 a.m. Central European time. And that's 11 p.m. on Tuesday, not Wednesday. It's a little confusing, but whereas it's Wednesday in the Central European time. That's for the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group, for anybody. And the listing for that is available, to be posted in the usual Facebook groups and so on. So yeah, working with kids' toys, that's a good line of work, and I think it's very, very important for the future of of getting the Keshe name to be a household name, the Keshe work, the plasma technology.
Yeah, I'm presenting on Wednesday, so I'm really gonna talk about it. I think it's a concept that they are interested. It's one of the big toy makers here, so it's something that they need to know.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of room for doing stuff there, but it'll take a lot of creativity to get into that as well. They need to see a product that they can make a bunch of money on, and if you show them the tourist toy, that's not going to be the product they can make a bunch of money on, because it's already being produced in a very inexpensive way, and there's already someone that runs that market in the more expensive version for the industrialized countries and so on as well. So it's but there's like I say, there's room for so many ways of educating kids in this technology. So good for you. Maybe you can just start the ball rolling and get some ideas from others and get together a little group maybe to conceive and build kids toys based on the plasma technology.
Yeah, let's talk about it tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
Rick, on the subject of magnets and kids' toys, is there such a thing as a spherical magnet? There are bar magnets and ring magnets, but is there a spherical magnet?
Oh, sure. Yes, they're available anywhere from tiny wee little 16th inch spheres right up to 2-inch ball or whatever, or even bigger if you wish. Yeah, definitely. They're a lot of fun because they link together and you can make structures out of the balls. You can buy hundreds of them at a time and make geometric structures that show the basic, building blocks of the universe in a way. Some say the geometry of the universe, the flower of life and all that kind of thing is easily demonstrated with all these magnetic balls. I think they've been banned in some sales because kids would eat them, swallow them. And if you swallow more than one magnetic ball, then they can pinch your colon and cause a blockage and so on. So this has been a big scare for several kids have swallowed the magnetic balls. So I think there's big warnings, if not banning in some countries for sales of them. That happened just recently, a year or two ago. But I think they're still available on the internet, and they're good for kids that don't stick things in their mouth and eat them as an experiment. So beyond a few years old.
I was thinking like your sorry, Jalala, just
okay.
to finish that one, like your polystyrene balls wrapped in aluminium with the static. That's the most amazing. I watched that. Demonstration. I watched that and watch it again and again because it's those balls.
I just brought it up recently for myself and went through some of the videes and went, wow,
yeah,
that is so weird. And
they're like so they've got a life of their own. But what I was getting at is they're enclosed in if the spherical magnets could be enclosed in a sealed box somehow, and without the individual spherical magnets being able to be swallowed by kids, maybe that's a way of getting around that choking hazard or whatever, something like that. Possibly.
Trouble is the magnets, when they they don't repel each other, they attract to each other. And as soon as one's close to another one, they rotate, so their attractive parts are attracting and snap together quite rapidly. That's part of the fun of them. You can snap them together and they automatically form different structures and so on. They're fun to play with that way. But it's whereas in the electrostatic demonstration, it's a repelling mode that's the most interesting, even though you get attraction as well. But it's when they repel each other and bounce off each other and find their positive position with each other without touching. That's what I find extremely interesting. Whereas the magnets, they tend to rotate to find their attractive position and snap together, whether they're little squares or rectangles or balls. They all tend to do that because it's very, very difficult to make what they call a monopole magnet. So it's like that would be like a sphere that has all north pointing out, and the south is actually inside the ball. And it's very hard to create. They're actually able to do that now, but it's quite an expensive process and so on. So you don't get magnet balls that can repel each other normally, unless they're monopole. You get two north. You know, if it's north on the outside of the ball, if all the outside of the ball is north pointing out, then it will repel another ball with all north pointing out. But like I say, it's very difficult to make one like that. They almost all have a north and south to them, and they just flip around so they get together and attract each other. Because attraction is the glue of the universe. Love is the glue of the universe. But repulsion is what keeps our positive position in a way too. So it takes two forces to tango. If it was all love, we'd be all glued together as humanity. You wouldn't be able to get it. You wouldn't be able to have our own position in the world. All right. Anybody else with a comment here?
Yeah, Rick.
Go ahead.
You brought up kids, and if you go to the third Kids Knowledge Seekers workshop, I have it here. I can share if you.
Okay.
You cannot.
Sure, if you want to go ahead, that'd be fine. Let me stop the share. I think it's easier that way. And do you want to show it playing or just showing it still?
No, only picture I will share.
Okay. Ah. Thank you, Jalal, for finding that.
Thanks for Dan. He found it.
Ah, okay. Very good, Dan.
Yeah. So you're speaking about the kids, and it's there.
Yeah.
So choose a point. Any point. Choose one. Is this our unicos? Is it our universe? Is it our galaxy? Is it our solar system? Any name you put on. You will see here. Let me the color. If you choose this point here, you see it is connected to this line. and to this line. Do you see this line? No, it's a little bit.
Yeah, could you select a different color, or that'd be nice. Maybe a darker color.
It's already connected. So if we say this is our universe, you see, it's all connected. If it's a man, only a human being, it's already connected. It's very easy to think plasma. This is the magnetic, if I say it. Because magnetic is the creation. You create here, you need how much to go to this line or how much to go to this line. But you are already connected to all these lines. In which way you go. You want to jump to this line or to jump to this line. It's only the matter state need to catch up because this line is already connected. If you go around, you will go in. So 1 turn, 2 turn, you are there. Only the physicality need to catch up. In the soul level, we are all connected. So that was only my point. And if you like, guys, go on this teaching. It's very beautiful also.
Yes, indeed. The kids' teachings are not just for kids.
No.
I remember when Mr. Keshe and I, and when we first got into doing those kids' videos, I was amazed by the depth of information Mr. Keshe was putting forward. And it was supposed to be for kids, and it was, but at the same time, it was very much for adults as well. And there's some very, very good teachings in there that
exactly and
knowledge.
In the teaching, you said, I would like to go there because it's my level to understand. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's an essence teaching. It's for the child in each of us.
So thank you, Rick. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jalal, and thanks to Dan as well for finding the image, the mysterious image. And it's interesting now, well, now that you have it up, but it isn't anymore. I was going to say something about that, but
I can bring it back if you like.
yeah, bring it back for just a minute there. There's
Yes.
another interpretation that I could run through quickly, which is, if you look at the way it's laid out in this spiral, how it's got the matter, and then it goes to, I can't see what it says at the bottom. It's, I think, infrared or something. Is that what it says on the very bottom? I can't see on my screen here. It doesn't show up. And then it goes to the visual range of, it's sort of the electromagnetic spectrum in a way, but it's the energy levels of these rays coming from the source, and how when you go closer and closer or further in the spiral, the rays get more intense. They get more powerful, more of a field strength. So we go from the visual at the bottom into X-rays, and then into gamma rays, and then into even more powerful and even more powerful. And you can imagine close to the very center of the source how the strength is, you know, way, way more than we've ever even imagined to have measured before. And then as it unwinds and comes through the gamma X-ray visual back into matter and lower matter, we have a full spectrum of the fields are shown here. And what I hinted at with this this little radio setup thing I was talking about, that it's possible to start to tune in to these other fields and actually get an idea of at least on the lower realms here in this outer part of the spiral, what's already in front of us that we don't normally see. And just to have an interpretation of that, be aware that there are these, like we're aware of the visual, and that's pretty much all of the, and we're aware of the matter, and that's pretty much all of the spectrum that we pay attention to. And the visual part of the spectrum is so small of a part of the entire spectrum of the fields that it's almost insignificant. Yet it's what we base most of our lives on. We are so reliant on what we see is what we get in a way, or what we encounter. What we perceive is primarily based on that visual representation in our lives. So yet it's such a small part of the whole spectrum of fields. So we can learn to see in different ways than just the visual, I guess, is the ultimate thing I'm trying to say here. Ursula, would you like to...
Now, sorry, now got to our love. Now got to our love. It's PM ticks.
I don't like that word myself. PM ticks. PM ticks. PM ticks.
Love, Jalal.
It's hard to pronounce. What do you think, now that you're on Gatua? What do you have something you like to say about all this?
Not now. I haven't really mastered this particular one. But thank you very much for the offer.
I think humans will have a hard time mastering this one. Our whole existence is in the matter and visual end of things here, and it's seldom that we connect with anything close to the source, and when we do, we don't always have, it's like connecting your to 220 volts in a way. Sparks will fly when you connect to the source. Ursula, you have your hand up. Would you like to speak, please? You'll need to unmute.
Hi, everybody. Ursula speaking. I'm UC member Spanish, and I want really to give a big thank you to Jalal yesterday. He come into the Spanish Knowledge Seeker special. Was great. It was really so beautiful. Was translated from John, of course, and vice versa. All has been happening there. Gianni showed also what we lived here in the oasis at the first beginning, with all the pictures from Victor, who took many of them. They will be all in the Wikipedia, in the Wiki, Keshe Wiki, Spanish. And it was beautiful because in the background I was translating this also in in French and in German, and for what it needs. So it has to be really very, very beautiful. You can come all in. Is the John ¿Qué número era? If he's there, he can remind you. Yesterday, Monday evening. So you can come in, and it's the last one. Was really beautiful and almost spoken in English, so you can all understand this part of the presentation of Jalal and Janice also with beautiful pictures. So thank you, Jalal, for coming in. It was really a pleasure and honor to have you as teacher, and all you've done also with Enda. He is going up in his mind, I think, and changing completely his life, and we are working together. Thank you.
My pleasure to serve.
I know.
All right, well, perhaps we should come back to Carolina to keep us on track here and direct the flow. Are you still there, Carolina?
I have to keep you on track.
Well, you're the train engineer here, so yeah, you got to keep the train on track.
Oh, don't worry, I don't lose view on the train.
We don't want a train wreck.
not on the engine.
There's lots of side tracks to go on as well, so we don't want to get sidetracked too much. But it's all beautiful. It's all good, and
we know how fast we can get sidetracked. It's time for the knowledge seekers to start stepping up, to start working and functioning with confidence, not to hold back. Too many good teachers are still holding back, and they think they're not good enough or they can't do it. Nope, they are fully capable, but it's the fear. It's the fear of people speaking and functioning in public is not such an easy job. But once you get the hang of it, you increase and you get better. And we had to push a few knowledge seekers, and they have taken the challenge, and it's going very well. It's very nice to see so many knowledge coming, really beautiful teachers. We are on a for world peace. That is our target. And we are achieving in different layers of our work. And just listen to the person who just said toys. Mr. Keshe has said, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, he put the word toys on the table. Your imagination has no ending with toys. Don't worry about safety, but worry how to create them. Then you go to the next step. People which don't need wheelchairs anymore. You can levitate them. No more heavy weight lifting. Just when you can master the gravity, Can you understand and stand still with what we are using gravity? And what we are fighting against, where we need to lift and transport things. Now you can, Back to the Future is not so far off, is it anymore? A skateboard, you imagine it, it will come into the matter state. It has no end of beauty. It doesn't need to go into the toy world alone. I think the adults will be playing with it faster than the children.
Carolina, it's Peggy. You have me laughing because I'm thinking of the parents that when the child has misbehaved and they say, "You are grounded," it will bring a true meaning. Because how do you keep hold of a child that's levitating?
Well, I think the masters of the imaginary world will take charge of that. But just, this is what is going to be all coming to place by next year, April. You watch. Because don't forget, every time the Keshe Foundation brings this kind of expanding on the knowledge out in systems, also the knowledge is getting spread. So it doesn't matter you can't see it. It doesn't matter you don't know how it works, but you are elevated to that level. And that is what a lot of knowledge seekers are forgetting. We all share equally. It's just, what are you choosing to do? What are you explore? What is your desire to go, like this gentleman says, I want to go into the toy world. My God, you have you haven't even started scratching the top layer of it. They will come when you imagine vivid and you communicate with your soul. It's between your physicality and your soul, and you create those wishes, you will be given. It will start appearing in ideas. You're going to start sketching. You're going to start drawing things. But those are the first initial steps to then to be able to come into contact with the appropriate knowledge from the Keshe Foundation to be able to manifest these systems. Because my first thought came when we were talking about the toys, me and Mr. Keshe. The first thing that came to my mind was, my God, we will not need any longer the wheelchairs. People which, because of their condition, cannot be helped because they are fused, or it will take time. Mr. Keshe said they will be able to do, but it will take to put somebody around, and he just by his mind, he goes the direction he wants. We're going to see so many changes. A lot of times recently, when I'm cooking or Mr. Keshe is rattling in the kitchen, I say, my God, what are those people going to do who are making all the pottery, the cutlery, the tables, the chairs, the pots, the pans, all the tools to use in the kitchen, the stoves, the gas, the energy, the growing, the harvesting, the packing, the delivering, the transport, the cooking time, the consuming, the wages that needs to be earned to manifest all this will all disappear. Slowly, but they will disappear. And every time I take fruit or I take vegetables, you being here today to provide me with a little bit of energy that I am short of. Somebody's microphone is open.
I'm sorry, I got the audio on for this little video that I'm playing with the static, showing the static, showing the positive positioning actually of these balls after I just merely move my hands on the plastic to, I'll show you again here, just the beginning. See, this is what I do. I rub the plastic and then the balls start activating and they continue defying gravity and playing with each other, basically. They're finding their position with each other.
I was away from the main screen. That's why I didn't get what the noise was all about. Because I'm trying to stay off your main screen because you freeze me always.
Oh, yes, right.
So that's why I thought, where is this noise coming? I thought you were having a reactor spinning.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but it took me a while to get the video to actually play, so I was kind of delighted when it actually played here. So even when it seems like these balls are now found their position, they'll still make little movements. If you watch carefully, I think you'll see something move here. No,
they're interacting with their environment.
Rock a little bit. There, the left one just moved, started to rotate. And they'll do this for up to 2 or 3 minutes afterwards. They still try to find different positions. And that's what I find incredible with this. And plus the fact they're able to jump up and down with such vigor that it makes you realize, well, gravity's not so hard to beat. So
now you can imagine, I said, now you can imagine, Rick, if you create your wish, how people are jumping around to find their position in what you just created.
Yes, exactly. So again, see, that applies in many different levels, this kind of technology. You can think of these balls as people, or you could think of them as planets. Take your choice. Stars. Stars find their positions as well, the same way. Or GANs particles. We have Dean with his hand up here.
Grace, everybody, peace. I'm real excited hearing about the toys because I had a wish 10 years ago, and just a little side on that. Rick, your desire for Tesla and the name being commonplace, maybe you had your wish come true. And with that, you got to something else.
I definitely feel that, Dean. I was going to mention that because the wish that I had was a very, very deep wish. I had gotten very allergic to fuels and oil, and I had to find a way to eliminate oil from the world. And that was my deep essence wish, and it came from the very deep part of me. And that's when I said to myself, if not me, who? If not now, when? And I just went for it. And that's why I recommend everybody to come to that place in yourself. If you're fed up with the world, don't blame the world. Change yourself. Change the world by changing yourself, by just saying, if not me, who? And if not now, when? I'm going to go for it. Okay. And do what you need to do in the world to make the changes in the world, but change yourself first, because that's where it really, that's where the big changes come from. When you decide that you are the creator, you can change the entire world. And, you know, whether I actually did anything or whether it's just that that was the natural thing that came about at that time, I don't know, but I definitely felt I was participating in that process, and it gives meaning to your life, and you know, you feel alive because of all that. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. It was enjoyable. Anyway, I worked on sacred geometry and expressing it upon a piece of paper in a waveform. And I wanted to write a book on folding paper, but I didn't want to write anything that had ever been written before, or do anything that had ever been done before, at least that I had seen. And so I worked and I worked and I worked. And I have all of that material and the paper to fold and the colors and everything expressed in sacred geometry. And I'm just so glad that this is going to be one of those areas that it can be released, because I consider these things like brain energy packets. Because when a person starts engaging in the process of creating the forms, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain work together equally. And anyway, I'm just excited. I'm all for toys. I love agriculture, but I'm all for toys. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
that's right. Your geometric shapes and so on would be very much applicable, I think, to the toy kingdom. You know, you could see 2- and 3-dimensional shapes being produced maybe by a 3D printer based on your designs and that kind of thing.
They can do it with their hand. I teach how to do it with the hand.
Well, that's even better, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tactile. And then they look and they start to understand, you know, how the physical geometry works, how the Fibonacci sequence and the, you know, all of these, how nature works. And they get to see it fold in their hands. And it's so simple that the first time I discovered it, that year, I went around to schools and I started teaching it, 3rd graders and 4th graders. And it used to be I'd go in and teach origami in schools, and it'd take an hour with 30 children, and I'd be exhausted at the end of a couple 3, because I had to touch each piece of paper. But when I discovered how this works, I showed it to the children, and within 5 minutes, I had a couple kids who had picked it up already, and they were helping their classmates. Never seen anything like that before. Anyway, that was my my little. I'm here. I am present, and I'm present for peace. And I'm glad we all have our wishes together. Thanks, guys. Peace out.
Thank you, Dean. Very good. Hopefully your ideas will get implemented for kids everywhere as well. I think that's a good theme for today's show, in a way, the spreading of the knowledge.
Adults need this.
Well, the kids can,
and maybe more than the children.
Well, the secret is that if we teach the kids, then the kids can teach the adults, because they're the ones that go home and have to deal with the adults. And if they actually can teach them, they will see some transformations occurring back home.
You're right. I've been teaching how to fold in that art form literally since I was probably 6 years old. I'd teach it to classes, and the children would learn, and I was one of them. And we would, and they would get the books and go home and they'd show their parents, and they'd start decorating their homes. And yeah, the arts, mind energy packets. Just like the box you know, you can buy the boxes at Costco, you know, of you know, the different things to put together. Well, we can do the same thing. Anyway, peace.
Thank you, Dean. I'll just note in our video here, it's still playing. This is still a moving video. It looks like it's stopped, but it's because the balls are now, two out of three are stuck to the top of the plastic. It's a plastic tray, actually, and inverted, so that it's the bottom of the tray is facing us. And now these balls are stuck to the bottom of the tray. And I'm just allowing the video to play out. I forget how it ends, actually. We're about halfway through. So it just shows, again, how these little balls, just from a few wipes of my hand to charge up the situation. See, I can touch on the top part of the plastic, and it causes them to reposition themselves. So this is how we can show our interaction of our body fields with the fields of other things. I have to kind of get it charged up. It has to be just right. My hands have to be dry, and the conditions have to be right. And I'm using a rabbit ears, actually. It's or what do you call it? Earmuffs from rabbit fur, supposedly. I don't know if it's actual rabbit fur. It's probably synthetic, but you can use that as well to charge up this plastic. Like I say, sometimes I have to give it a little extra. Sometimes just one sweep of the hands is enough to do it. But I got them pretty excited that time. There's an interesting positioning. Is that not the Magrev positioning? 3. Pretty amazing stuff. Peggy asks, I wonder how high the two balls would float if there wasn't a lid on the box. But it's actually the lid that causes the balls to float in a way. So you need the gradient flow between the bottom, which is the desk that's in front of me here, and the lid of this plastic box. So there's a gradient between them. The field between them is strong enough to allow those balls to quite rapidly rise. And then once they hit the top of the box, they discharge and go back to the bottom and charge up and back down and up and down and so on. They have some rapid cycling stuff going on there. It's hard for me to explain how this is even possible. It's not something we normally learn about in our schooling. It's, you know, we learn about static electricity, and if you shuffle your feet on a carpet, you can make a spark, and it'll hurt your finger or hurt somebody else if you spark it onto them. And that's something you learn pretty quick as a kid, because it's fun to provoke other kids with a spark and that kind of thing. But we're not taught that it can actually cause things to levitate and float and all kinds of stuff like that. So there's something there, and for the kid scientists or the kid scientists in you to investigate and find out how we can make our cars fly. All the manufacturers have flying cars now, but they're not based on this science. Okay, perhaps we should get more on track here again. I'm not sure if that was a sidetrack or part of the main issue here today. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. But you were saying, Carolina, before I interrupted.
What was I saying, Rick?
Oh, you were talking about the bigger picture of things and giving us more of a direction on our railroad line here.
Well, there is a world of beauty ahead of us. It's a gift, as Mr. Keshe explained, to humanity. And now it's our job to inform our world leaders what is about to come. Although they are present in the presentations of Mr. Keshe, they know very well what is coming. But I think it's if it is our wish, I'm not going to say it is, but if it is our wish for all the ones which have been bothered by the conditions which are in place and you're not agree with it, how can we change it? Where is our pivot point of change? Where can we bring the change? What can we do individual to bring that initiative on the table that they will have to listen because it will be right in front of them. And I think this is happening in so many ways. It gets confirmed that we're talking about these invisible pockets of knowledge seekers. I think that is what I feel is about to happen. That they will start revealing in bigger pockets and bigger pockets, which are dormant now. But I think they will wake up. And I think that will be the biggest surprise for each country where they will pop up. It's like they're in a dormant state, and it was very amazing how this gentleman said, why did it take so long for this to come into public domain? Well, I think you're gonna have to hold on to your chair because these pockets of people of knowledge seekers, which are completely working more or less independent or with a few knowledge seekers, that the Keshe Foundation is not really, they're not in our view, but they're working. As the gentleman just explained, there is already a full market with products. It gets applied. They know what they're doing. They know how they're doing it. These pockets of knowledge seekers will start emerging. And that will be the biggest shock in a lot of countries when that will come on the surface. Then that will open a window for the knowledge seekers which are here, close, working. You're the seed of those pockets. You're the seed of spreading the knowledge. You're the seed because somewhere, somehow, somebody, if I can explain it in an easier way, I think I brought it up yesterday as well. It just came back to my mind. You all remember the movie with that little boy? Well, knowledge seekers.
The movie, sorry, you broke up there. The movie, what was it called? The little boy?
Pay It Forward.
Pay It Forward. Okay, thank you.
If you remember that movie, then if you understand this is what is happening, you've done your work. You still are doing your work. And you're still touching so many souls. And we didn't know, you didn't know, and most of us didn't even know that those pockets were existing. And they're fully autonomous. If you look, when the gentleman brought Mr. Keshe in Australia, and he said, I just discovered a group of about 100. And it was a surprise to him. Now you see the pleasure of how it grows and how you were the seed of that expansion. You don't need to know. But these are the small confirmations, like from your wishes, that it is done. Your work is done, it's getting done. Because every time you share something with somebody or you support somebody with knowledge, that is a paying forward. And that is one of the easiest way I can explain. When you watch that movie, then you understand how you're working by giving and teaching so freely. It's the seeds that you have planted so long ago, and now they start coming into light. And it's a pleasure. And I hope a lot more knowledge seekers will start reporting more groups that they are discovering. They're no longer going to stay dormant. They will start waking up, you will see. Because they're already working, if we can call it in a hidden way, but they're creating the field strength. So you can imagine what they have already developed that we don't even know. Then can you imagine if we start wishing for them all to come to surface and to connect with one another and for them to share their knowledge with our knowledge? We will be short of teachers, or we will gain so many teachers. What do you think, Rick?
I think we need to maybe put some kind of wish down for today.
That might be nice. And how would we formulate this wish? Anybody? You're saying, Rick?
I was going to say, how would you wrap up some of the things you've been saying in into a wish?
Somebody send me a reminder. Yes, I will. We came to the inspiring thing yesterday. What if every knowledge seeker takes a booklet or a writing paper or a diary and starts writing down every day one wish, and just let it go by I am present. And we don't double check on our wishes, but just let them freely, each knowledge seeker, to write one wish down. And then in time, as we know, suddenly we bump into our own wish getting confirmed. And then we make a cross next to, we can go and check on our list and say this wish was confirmed. And as we are evolving, to bring those wishes then to the platform with you and us, Rick, on the Wikipedia, because if we go individual and we don't wait till there is a platform to create wishes, and if we don't wait for an event to happen or that needs our importance to write a wish, why don't we create every day a wish, each one of us, and write it down, and then bring it back to the platform when you bump in that the wish has been confirmed in one way or another, because then you can explain why the wish was there. It always has to have a purpose to serve. And it's in the beauty of the purpose for it, what it will serve, that that wish will start working like pay it forward. Actually active, putting yourself in the position I do. I start creating every day one wish. And it doesn't matter for what that wish will fall into place for. And encourage your family members, your children, your parents, your great-grandparents, anyone. Ask them to start creating a wish list. And then see and compare with one another, because the experience and the doing will give the people the confidence and the acknowledgement that they are creators. They can create a wish, and then it will establish itself. We will work much faster than just on one platform, creating one wish and then passing it on. Start individual. What do you think?
Okay, maybe we can incorporate that with what Dan has brought up here. He mentions in the chat, for example, he says, I noticed because I participate that some feel lost and do not have direction in the French group. What advice do you give us? I personally do what my soul dictates, but I want to feel that immense joy when I participate, as if returning home. I lost my joy. Am I confused? My wish is returning of joy. And then he goes on to say later, I give from my soul for the enhancement of joy and beauty at home in the family. I'm wondering if we can work with that in light of what you've been saying as well, Caroline.
Yeah, why not? We can start somewhere at a reference point.
That's something I was going to bring up as well, because that relates to what I was talking about when I first got going with basically sort of making myself more public. I became a online entity, you know, my character or whatever became popular in certain ways. And I didn't really like that, because I'm a private kind of person. I stick to myself, and I'm not really going out of my way to meet people and that kind of thing. It's not my thing. But because I set in my intention, a certain intention, that there needed to be a change in the world and in myself and in the whole framework of what was going on, and it came from a very deep place, then that was just part of what I had to do. You know, I had to endure, and I mean endure, all the YouTube comments and distractions and people putting you down and everything else, as well as people praising you and thinking you're God and all of that. So you got two ends of this crazy spectrum, and you learn to just be centered and not pay attention to either end of, because none of it's the truth, but all of it is sort of part of the truth in a way. So it's, you learn to how to interact with all that. And part of that is learning to be in joy. If you don't have that, the joy comes from essence. And if you aren't acting from that essence perspective with the joy, then other emotions can get involved and so on. Like before I decided that I would act with joy and create this kind of crazy character on YouTube, they actually called me Crazy Mr. Fix-It Rick at one point in one of the blogs. Before doing that, I realized that I was in a funk because I was basically really upset with the world and the oil burning machinery and the fact that I was part of it because I'm this mechanic, and now I'm allergic to the entire world of oil and all of the stuff that's involved with that, and I can't deal with that anymore. So I'm moving I was in a place of upset in a way, but I moved from that to just the joy of creating, and I created these structures and put them on YouTube videos and so on. And I got a lot of satisfaction out of that. And it's part of that joy that comes from that deep part of ourselves that is really necessary and is part of what happens with the people that get involved with the plasma technology and the teachings of the Keshe Foundation. There's a certain joy that people have that work with the Ganses, and you see it time after time after time when somebody creates their first GANS material, and they're just in awe of this beautiful substance that they've created, or some other process that they've gone through, that because they've been introduced to this technology, sometimes even just hearing about it, that it's out there and that people are doing it, is enough to make them very hopeful, and it completely changes people's lives to finally hear that there's stuff going on that's not the mainstream half-truths that we've been fed for so long. Anyway, so we get back to this statement from Dan. I give from my soul, I think he says freely, that's the word there, freely, give from my soul freely for the enhancement of joy and beauty at home in the family. Okay, so that's something we have to work with here. And again, the joy, enhancement of joy and beauty at home. What a better way to do that than to through kids' toys, like we were talking about earlier. If you can inspire a child to take on new learning, and that gets transferred through the adult there or vice versa, then that is part of that joy and beauty at home, I think, and the enhancement of that. Okay, so put the Dan in the October. Okay, so what do you think about that statement, Carolina, or others? Oh, Dan says unconditionally free.
I cannot see your screen. It's blank.
Oh. Blank.
It's black. I cannot follow what you do.
Oh, Just make sure it's on the correct thing here.
It's okay on our end, Rick.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's something on your screen, Carolina.
Yep, but I don't know how to fix it because
If I make it bigger, it'll make a difference.
I might have to get out and come back in.
Are you completely black screen?
Yep.
Yeah, it might be frozen.
No, I can move around, but I cannot.
Yeah, you may have to restart Zoom in order for it to kick in. That's
Yep.
strange.
So I will disappear for a second.
Okay. Oops.
So are you going to dance for us, Rick, while we're waiting for Carolina?
Sure, no problem.
That was a
See me
great
dancing?
video.
I'm doing
Thank
it
you.
now.
Thank you for bringing the video. I absolutely loved it. I remember seeing it a long time ago. It seems like it's been a long time since I saw it the first time. And just the fact that you shared with us today that I hadn't picked up on previously was that the box was upside down. So it wasn't a plastic lid on a plastic box, but it was a plastic box upside down on a tabletop. And so it was the two different surfaces. And of course, there you do have those interactions. So it made so much more sense to me today. Thank you so much for bringing it. I love watching it. It just speaks to my soul. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. The original came from just about almost exactly 2 years ago, when that little device was fabricated. Not much to fabricate. It's very, very simple, actually. In fact, any child could put that together in about 5 minutes. So if you had all the parts, the styrofoam balls, a bit of tin foil or aluminum foil, as it's called, and the plastic box, which is an acrylic. I think it's like an office tray, but it was actually, I think, in the kitchen section of a big superstore kind of place. I think they use it for cutlery or for some other kind of thing, and maybe for serving.
It just, the way you said that, it made me think, yep, it's simple enough that a kid can teach the adult.
Well, exactly.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So if we had a kit with toys like that, sort of a learning kit, and it's not just the device itself, it's the concepts behind it, the idea of fields and how fields interact and how we can interact with those fields. In this case, actually create the fields that allow these little balls to bounce around. And it's the interaction of our hands in particular. And a lot of the teachings, as Jalal can attest to, he did one of the teachings of using the hands and feeling the fields between the hands, and the interaction of all that. Well, this is just another variation of that manifesting interaction of the fields with the interaction of our hands. And to me, it's amazing because of many factors, but how is it that the hands, I've seen this in other instances as well, the human hands are so influential to these kinds of experiments? Another example is the plasma ball, which again, I think is a great learning tool, the standard little, especially the smaller ones, that you can get relatively cheaply for under $20, even under $10 for some of them. A plasma ball that probably everyone's seen, the little sparky kind of plasma ball with its filaments inside, and you put your hand on the glass of the plasma ball, and those filaments will go right directly to your hand, and it changes the environment inside that partially vacuumed reactor, you could say, with gases in it, specifically you know, certain gases like argon, xenon, neon, and so on gases, the so on gases. So it's a great thing that their hands are able to influence such fields as inside of a plasma ball, or in this case, the little bouncing balls that we saw before. And if you look into it, the hands are actually, the human skin, and especially dry hands, are one of the most, I think it's electronegative. Like you can rate these things in electronegative or electropositive. Like plastics are at one end of the scale, and there's you know, Teflon's at one end, and there's other kinds of plastics are at another end, and metals are at another spot. There's a whole gradient of these different materials. So the hands happen to be at one extreme of those gradients because of just the way they're made. So interesting that we happen to have literally at hand one of the most important tools for the creation and sensing of fields, right? Actually directly in front of us in our hands. So back to Dan's statement here: I give from my soul freely for the enhancement of joy and beauty at home. I think at home, in the family, or and in the family. I think maybe at home and in the family would be better. Or at home. Is it just the family at home? I think at home and in the families might be better. He mentions that coagulation between groups of souls is close to a family. So that's what he means by home is when he feels at home, whether he's in a group or some other place, and in the family, meaning the group of souls as a close-knit family, you might say, or a group of that are connected. He says also, the joy when you get home after a long road. You've been on the road for days and you're tired and you just want to get home and relax and rest, or be at the joy of your home. So perhaps that's the joy that we find when we connect with our essence, our soul. That emotion of joy, yes. Well, I think that's something we can all get behind. I don't see how it would need to be changed in that sense. You look at it in the sense of the I is we, and we give from our souls, but it's also a very personal thing because, as has been mentioned before, if you want to change the world, just change yourself first. And it's the I who gives. Don't wait till everybody else gets together and it's we are giving. It's you make that decision right here, right now. I give. It's the same as if not me, who? And if not now, when? And it's not a matter of we at that point. It's a matter of being the creator, taking control and of your own life, not controlling others, but to control your own life and to give from your soul to whatever it is that you need to give to at that time. So I like it as is. Anybody have issues with that? Going once, going twice. Sold. I'll go for it. I am present.
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 Thank you. I was waiting for that one. You know, you had your hand up. All right. Very nice.
I am present.
I am washing dishes and I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
Okay. Thank you, Dan, for opening up that. And thank you for Carolina for making the connections and keeping the train on track. We're coming up on 3 hours here. I'm wondering if we should come to a close soon, Carolina. We're trying to keep things under that time limit, I understand.
No, it's fine. We are trying to stick to our schedule. I'm just wondering, there must be a lot of knowledge seekers contemplating on a lot of things. Because there is, this week, it's started yesterday, there is a lot of silence. And that indicates that a lot of souls are staying calm and quiet. And it's like they're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together because it's been a heavy period of change and heavy change and a lot of knowledge that doesn't straightway add up. And then the shocks and then the not understanding why and how. But it's more to, if you have those things on your plate, just trust that you're in the right place at the right time, and that when the time is right, the same answer that the gentleman was coming with the question, why so long before this came into public domain? Every hurdle of not understanding or just give it time, it will reveal itself, its beauty. Because you got to remember the core of why you're here, how you came in, and what you're doing. And the beauty sits in the totality of that. We are just serving one thing, that is one nation, one planet, one race. All the rest does not matter. Because if you're the point of the creator, then all the worries which are in so many different pouches on the table, they're all eating from your energy level. when you position yourself in the point of creator, what do? You visualize what you want to create, how you're going to create, and for what purpose it will serve. And if you obtain the energy just for that purpose only, then all the rest is of no importance. Because those all will sort themselves out because you have put so much into the change of the condition. I tried to explain it yesterday when you put 20 pots on the table and each bowl you fill in with work, food, school, responsibilities, clothes, heating, electricity bills, God knows what. You got 20 and more pots to fill. You can imagine the amount of energy which goes in each bowl of each one on the table. That's what I was trying to explain last week with Rick, the same. Those are all matter state problems. The beauty sits when you can take your distance from what is on that table, even in those bowls and those balls, because they're matter state. And each problem you have put in there is a matter state problem. What if you take a few steps or a step back and you fill yourself up with not to worry of any of those 20 balls, but you fill yourself up with what you want, how you want it? That's where the initiative came from, to make a wish every day. And for the purpose, it has to have a beautiful purpose to serve. I can create a wish that, let's say in my village, we know that there are people suffering from poverty, or they can't put enough food on the table, or they will suffer from cold, or they can't pay their bills. It doesn't matter. You know something is wrong somewhere. You create a wish for them to receive that peace. That's the beauty of your wish. You can even create it for your own environment, for your own family, for your own personal. But it will always have to have that beauty to serve or show the beauty in it, what it's getting and how it's getting created. If you work with that and you know that that brings the change because we have that confidence from the wishes we have made so far, then why would you worry what goes in each bowl every day? You can wipe literally all the bowls off the table because they no longer should be consistent in as a problem for you. If you understand by taking that one step backwards and you create the new condition. And there is nothing wrong in wishing your family to be peaceful, to have the warmth and the food and the medical care and the love and the care on your roof. Because if you can stand and shine like a family, others will take the pleasure in that beauty too. That is the change from the matter state creating into you being the creator and working with what you can work with if you understood the soul teaching of Mr. Keshe. And you know that even if it doesn't reveal to you, it has taken its place of creation. And it will be only a matter of time when you will receive the pleasure to view it, to witness it, or to enjoy it yourself. And the funny thing is that you don't need to spend so much energy to fill up those 20 bowls with the problems and the concerns and whatever is gone into that matter state, when you know you can change your full position by just being the creator. That's where that initiative came from, to make a wish every day and write it down And don't hesitate and don't be scared, because you can do it. As simple as Rick said, nothing needs to be changed on this wish anymore. So I think we all start getting how to do it, but teach it to your children, teach it to your friends, to your family. Don't hold back. Say you want to learn how to make a wish. Children will never say no, because they're full of wishes. And don't stop them in what they want to create as a wish. Let them do, let them exercise. Because you are stimulating them to become the creators of their own. And I think that's the most beautiful gift you can give to a child, that freedom. He can manifest anything you like, and you too. So that was my I am present for your wish in today. And I thank my team and Rick, which is always there, present, and all the other members which are supporting as co-hosts, and the knowledge seekers and the visitors. You're always welcome to this big family of one planet, one race, one nation. And I thank you all. And see you tomorrow with Rick, and maybe in the private class with me later on in the afternoon. I thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Carolina, for a wonderful show today. And special thanks to Peggy for co-hosting today, and Mark, who was there as well and helped in the background. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's workshop. Let me get the screen set up here. So I don't have Flint to rely on, so I have to find my proper screens. And I think I'm going to play the donation video, if I can find it here as well. Just give me a sec. Okay, here's the donation video. And again, thank you everybody for attending the 93rd One Planet, One Nation, One Race for World Peace.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate.